a crossover with gorgeous skins, a moon event, and a look at the upcoming Survivor. Let's begin. Welcome back to another episode, guys. We've got a lot to talk about today as we have quite a lot of content releasing this week. The first thing that we're getting this week is the Palace Museum crossover. That's the best way I think we can translate it. That's what I'm going to refer to it as. This event brings quite a lot of stuff. There's a daily check-in event where if you complete check-ins, you'll be able to receive artifact information that's part of the event story, a 3-day trial card for the new A-tier painter skin. It's a very weird thing that they're giving us here, a portrait frame, and even more rewards. If you participate in matches or do the journey through the landscape and mysteries of ancient chimes, whatever that is, you'll be able to collect event currency. This event currency can then be used later in the event shop to be able to purchase the A-tier furniture piece, Zitan wood screen inlaid with stuff. That's a very, very long name. The A-tier painter skin Sealed Chronicler that we've talked about in the past. Fantastic looking skin, very nice effects, very nice and clean. A painter emote, portraits, and even stickers. This event brings a story mode that actually has 2 different parts to it. I'm still unclear if we have to choose one or the other one or if we can do both of them, but there's the Antiquarian storyline that's called 1,000 Li of Rivers and Mountains, and the Explorers one that is called Mysteries of the Ancient Chimes. Now, if you complete both of them, or you complete either of them, whichever one, I don't really know, you'll be able to get a special skin for that character. One of them is a B tier for Antiquarian, and the other one is a B tier for Explorer, and also room music for each one. I'm assuming will be part of that story. And by completing day 1's story, you'll also receive a furniture piece called Grand Display Cabinet that I believe is an A tier, and during this event, you'll be able to collect 5 different artifacts that you'll be able to then display within this Grand Display Cabinet, and they're like connected to this museum that exists in real life called the Palace Museum. If you thought that was all for this Palace Museum event, well, you're very wrong. We've still got another double of what we just talked about, and that is the fact that there's a public map that I've forgotten what the name of it is. I'm sure I wrote it down, but it's now gone here, so maybe I deleted it by accident. But there are rewards for doing this public map, including a B tier furniture piece called Simple Display Cabinet, and another B tier that's called Large Vase with Varied Glazes. There's also a web event where if you visit the website and participate on the website, I think you have to do like daily check-ins, you'll be able to receive a reward that is a portrait and portrait frame themed around the event as well. There's some new store content that I think is the star of the show here. One of them is a package for Wu Chang that is an S tier package, including the S tier skin Verdant Realms Unfurled that I think is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the black guard. The white guard, not so much. The skin in general is quite fantastic. And then there's the S tier accessory Endless Crossing, also for him. And this package is echoes only. And there's also a female dancer S tier package that includes the S tier skin called Loom Song Awakening and the S tier accessory Key Liberation. Now the skin itself is absolutely gorgeous. Love it so much. The accessory, not so much. I don't like the effects. It's quite boring, quite dull. And I hope that they work on it in the future, but I wouldn't buy it expecting them to be able to improve it or do better with it in the future. Buy it how it is right now, because that's what you're getting. They might decide not to change anything. This is also for echoes only. And if you think this is all way too expensive, then you can get a discount coupon. There was already, if you're watching this before the update, there is a pre-registration coupon that you can still get, I believe. If you kind of spend, is it 10 echoes, you can get one, I think it is, and then it gives it to you in inspirations. But also during the event, there's going to be an extra coupon that you'll be able to purchase for 60 echoes that will also give you an 888 echo discount, I believe, for anything that costs 2,888. Okay, another thing that we're getting this week is we're getting another event separate from the crossover that's called the Journey to the Silver Moon. This is basically just the Mid-Autumn Festival, I believe. I just realized I'm wearing headphones. Why am I wearing headphones? I was listening to stuff earlier. I forgot to take them off apparently. Anyway, by logging in, you'll be able to receive 10 memory spheres and 100 spy glasses. And by checking in daily, you'll be able to receive spy glasses, clues, temporary unlock cards, and even more. If you play 3 matches a day, log in each week, and complete rank matches, you'll be able to get clues, fragments, inspirations, and more. It says you get 2 times this amount if you do all of these things. So I think if you just log in normally, you get kind of half of that. So yeah, looks like there are 2 different phases to this event. There's week 1 and week 2, or phase 1, phase 2. It might not be week 1, week 2. Phase 1 gives you a reward of a portrait and portrait frame themed around the B tier shadow skin that's coming out during this event. And then there's also phase 2 that gives you the reward of the emote effect Fallen Leaves and the B tier skin for shadow that's called Moon Right. This event brings back a ton of content to the store, including Firefly for Doctor, a Visitor to Ulthar for Disciple, Architect for Mind's Eye, Night Tides for Bloody Queen, and their matching accessories, both S and A tiers, whichever ones they get. And there's also the A tier geisha skin called Manchurian Crane, and the A tier geisha pet that is Man in the Mirror. all great content. The Spyglass store also has a ton of returning content, including 7 B-tier moon-themed skins from previous events, 4 B-tier accessories from previous moon events, and also the B-tier pet Moon Rabbit that I remember getting years ago at this point. I've forgotten it even existed. And there's a public map returning from previous moon events, and that is going to be the Oasis Mirage. If you complete missions within this map, you'll be able to receive a graffiti and a dynamic portrait that seems to be possibly event-specific, and also 2 stickers. Activities that you can do within this map include the Mooncake Workshop, the Light Up the Moon Lantern, Deceiver's Deck, and even more. And yet another thing that we're getting this week, if you thought that was not enough, are you crazy? We're getting an absolutely amazing Wildling package that includes the S-tier skin called Fairyland that is super detailed. If you look what it looks like in game, it looks absolutely crazy. It's colorful and incredibly fun. It has effects kind of like leaves falling from his hair, sparkles all around him, big yellow stars and toy planes circling all around him. This is one of the craziest skins I've seen in a while. And then there's the A-tier accessory also for Wildling that's called Home of Bees. This is a little house made of honeycomb. The effects changed the boar's snorting effects to like a slightly pink color, but barely even noticeable. And they also changed the boar's dash to include like dreamy pink clouds that follow behind him. But I would say this is probably one of the worst accessories I've seen in a while. It's okay. Definitely not to the standard of the S-tier skin that's in this exact package. These should be available for both echoes and fragments. The package itself will be for echoes, but if you want to buy them separately, you'll be able to choose the option of fragments or echoes. So that's quite nice. And remember that the discount coupon for the Palace Museum event does not work for anything else that is not part of the Palace Museum. We've got some character days coming up this week. We've got First Officer's Character Day coming on the 24th of September. That's going to be his 6th character day, meaning he's getting a special portrait. And we've also got Opera Singer getting her character day on the 28th of September, meaning she's getting her 2nd character day and she's getting a portrait frame. And also something that's going on right now over on Identity V's Twitter page, if you go and retweet their recent post with the Zeta players KZNK, Kazunk, I don't know how you pronounce it. If we retweet it enough times, we'll be able to get a special portrait that's themed around this character, this person, sorry, that is the most popular player of the year. Hey guys, Phoenix from the future here. They've just announced a ton of stuff that's coming this week. They just did it last second, so let's talk about it. There's a new Enchanted Forest update coming this week that includes new animal skills that I think is just a boar with a shield kind of ability. There are new weapons that, as far as I can tell, is just a new sword that lets you kind of block attacks and then do like a counter attack. And there's a new item that lets you kind of drink a drink to become a hunter. Not sure if anyone even plays this mode anymore, but yeah. There's also a copycat limited time mode called Masquerade mode. Now, I don't really play copycat, so I'll just explain it the best way that I can. If you complete some missions during this event, you'll be able to receive 3 portraits and I think more rewards as well. In this limited time mode, players get to pick 2 factions from 3 that are available. So detectives, copycat, and mystery guests. You get to select 2 of those. And before going into a normal copycat match, it looks like there are 2 rounds that happen before that. During these 2 rounds, players get to select from a new identity selection phase where you can pick different identities or pick random identities. I think you can also skip stuff. I'm not exactly sure how that works. And then once that happens, the matches continue as normal. And another thing we're getting this week is we're getting a returning champion pet from the team Dou 5 that I believe is from China. And this is the Dou 5 Summer 2022 champion pet that's coming back to the store. I believe it's going to have a 12% discount for the first week. So yeah, that's relatively interesting. And let's get back to the video as it was before. Now it's time we talk about some future content. Over the weekend, they revealed the new survivor's abilities that is Lanternist, and she's a very interesting character. She is an assist and contain character. Now she has the living image external trait where she's able to create a freeze frame, that's what they call it, of herself or another survivor for 10 or 8 seconds. They might change this in test server, so be wary of that. And she can do this only 2 times per survivor, per character. Getting hit by a normal hit whilst in the freeze frame will then interrupt the freeze frame, meaning it comes to an end. And survivors can then also interrupt it themselves if they want to, so they can end this freeze frame. Now, if you haven't seen what this looks like, you won't really understand it, but if you see it on the screen right now, you should be able to understand more or less what this means. This freeze frame period is also shortened if you are near a rocket chair with a survivor on it, so this is to kind of balance out the abilities to be able to rescue. Why use this freeze frame ability? Well, she has this passive called the status projection. Non-normal attack damage and also strong control effects don't affect you whilst you're in the freeze frame. So you won't take chip hits or anything like that, or even foggy blade damage whilst you're in this kind of freeze frame stuff. When the freeze frame ends, you take that damage, or you get stunned by the control effect. Now, if you get hit by damage, it replaces the control effect, the stun basically. But if you got stunned, then you will get that stun at the end of the animation. But since you can cancel it at any time, you can choose when you want to take that stun. And you don't get all of the stuns that you received, but only the most recent one. There's also the other passive called Position Projection. When Lanternist uses the freeze frame on herself, a frozen copy of herself appears behind her at exactly the location where she kind of started it, and then she herself turns invisible with apparently no scratch marks. She also has an increased movement speed while she's invisible. She can move this copy of this frozen copy of herself to a new location whenever she wants to, leaving a trail behind, kind of linking between where the previous one was and the new position of the new copy. It looks like the hunter's goal is actually to hit the copy, and then she takes the damage at the end of the animation, not hitting the invisible version of herself. The second external trait is called Static Projection. With this ability, she's able to freeze frame items around the map, including cipher machines, rocket chairs, and even exit gates. Doing so will kind of increase their speed by 10%, so she can do code faster, open up rescue faster, and do exit gates faster and stuff like that. Survivors can also remove this freeze frame at will, and I think she can do it from a distance. If you freeze a cipher machine, you're able to build the progress up without the cipher machine actually gaining that progress, and it means that the cipher machine doesn't wiggle. And then as soon as you end that freeze frame, the kind of percentage that you did will instantly be applied to the cipher machine, meaning you can prime the cipher and then pop it whenever you want to. Freezing a rocket chair stops the progress of the chair from going up, but you still kind of see where it would be at, and then as soon as that freeze frame ends, the kind of percentage gets applied immediately, meaning that you can come in and rescue before that percentage goes over half, for example, or you can just freeze it if they're just about to be eliminated and then rescue them. So it's very, very useful, but you have to do it before the timer ends. Freezing the exit gate basically works the same way that doing a cipher machine does. I don't completely see the value in this one, but it does exist if you want to do it, so it will apply immediately upon you activating it. There's another external trait called Optical Illusion, and this is one that is going to be quite annoying to deal with. Any pallet that she, Lanternist, drops will be blocked from being destroyed for 1 second, and even longer if she was using freeze frame whilst she dropped the pallet, meaning the hunter can basically just not interact with that pallet for an entire second or second and a half or more. And her debuff is that she has all thumbs, meaning she has a decoding debuff of 10%. As for her cooldowns, or how many times she can use this ability, it seems to be an infinite ability, similar to kind of Priestess, for example, but she does have a charge time. The charge time apparently right now in the test server seems to be around 60 seconds with 2 charges each for the Living Image ability. That is the first one, where she's able to freeze herself or a survivor. And then there's also a 50-second and 2 charges for, or possibly the same part of charges, they might use each other's charges, for the Static Projection ability. That's basically the cipher machine rocket chair kind of interaction stuff. So that's quite interesting. She's able to charge these up, use these all the time. I do think that makes her quite strong, and I believe that's why they've given her the all thumbs passive, where she needs to decode a little bit slower, because she's a jack of all trades and a master of all apparently. But yeah, very interesting character. I wonder what you guys think. We're going to be seeing a lot of her test server content this week, because I believe as of the day I'm recording, she's just been added to the test server. So yeah, you'll get to see all of that stuff. Let's talk about some rumors for some future content, including the fact that people are theorizing that there's going to be an upcoming Puella Magi Madoka Magica. That I don't really know what the difference is between Madoka Magica and Puella Magi Madoka Magica. That was really difficult to say. But yeah, there's probably some difference. Why are people theorizing this? It's because recently they've been releasing characters that very heavily match the kind of appearance of characters from, I believe, this anime or game. I don't really know what it is, meaning that they are pretty much now primed and ready to do this crossover. And we've also seen it in past surveys where they've asked both, I think, global and also China, what kind of crossovers they would like to see. This kind of anime, I believe, has been in these past surveys for at least a year or two. So yeah, this is probably coming, so be excited. If you haven't already, make sure you click on the video right there, because YouTube thinks that you'll like it.